another episode of Let's Talk Weekly. I'm Greg.
I'm Josie.
And I'm
Yes. Hello. Welcome to another episode. So today we will be talking about the Green New Deal and the climate crisis with our amazing guest, Jen Perelman from Generational Change. And I know she loves attention. And so, yeah, before we start, we want to give a shout out to our co-host, Josie, who is starting merch on her show, Speaking in Church. Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your merch.
It is universal merch. I'm not a big fan of like hyper specific, so it's pretty much just merchandise for all my fellow heathens out there. We have bucket hats that say heathen, or a funny little heart with a broken halo that says sorry mom or sorry dad, whichever parent you disappointed the most, or both, who knows. All of that can be found on the link in the bio of @SpeakingInChurch on Instagram.
Yes, and all that information will be in the description, so go take a look at that. Also, I'm going to be shouting out myself because
Hell yeah, you are.
I'm a college student, and I just got accepted into Cal State LA for my theater and journalism majors. So I'm really excited to be starting that journey, and I'm really excited to get into student loan debt. It's going to be great.
It's a dream, Greg. It's a dream.
Yeah, so woohoo! That's gonna be fun. Okay, and then Thomas, how are you doing this week? We're all sharing something.
Not too bad. I mean, my life right now is just go to work and come home. So it's not much going on right now for me.
Welcome to adulthood, Thomas.
Yes, we're
Yeah.
all shouting out something, and adulting is hard. So we're glad that you're surviving. All right. So we're gonna go ahead and start our conversation. Here is Jen Perelman. Welcome back on the show.
Hi, it's so good to be here. Thank you for inviting me back.
Of course. To those who haven't seen you before, go ahead and share to the audience who you are and what you do, and also shout out your show.
So I have a podcast called Generational Change with a J. And our mission is transforming politics into service. So what we basically are with this it's an anti-corruption message. That's the gist of it, is that we're basically wanting to get the money out and have politics actually represent regular people. And to that end, we have all sorts of guests. We'll platform non-corporate candidates, but we really talk about issues, and it's really issues pertaining to like climate, criminal justice. We do a lot of labor issues, just different things that are really addressing general injustice. So whether that's environmental injustice, there's no shortage of injustice. So that's what we're about. That's what we're promoting. So, we'd love people to check us out. It's free on YouTube, Generational Change. And yeah.
Yes, and all that info will be in the description. Check her out. She produces amazing content. All right. So, like I said in our intro, that we are going to be talking about the Green New Deal. Now, what is the Green New Deal? I went ahead and found a really good video for y'all to watch. We're going to go ahead and take a look at that, and then we'll be right back.
The Green New Deal is basically a plan for how the US can tackle Earth's climate crisis while protecting us against most of its devastating economic impacts. It was created by Congresswoman Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Senator Ed Markey after the UN issued an extensive report showing that we have about 12 years to prevent the worst consequences of climate change, which include trillions of dollars worth of damage to the global economy. The Green New Deal lays out a 10-year mobilization plan with essentially 10 main goals that are meant to be a starting point for a larger conversation. Because of this, it is purposely big on vision and short on specifics. Here's a quick recap of those 10 goals. Goal number 1, zero emissions. Since carbon emissions are the main culprit when it comes to our climate crisis, the Green New Deal proposes meeting 100% of our power demand through clean, sustainable, and renewable resources. Solar and wind power are already cheaper than fossil fuels, so this goal is probably one of the easiest to accomplish. Goal number 2, training and resources. Because a highly educated population will be better equipped to adapt to the effects of climate change, the Green New Deal proposes that we provide high-quality training and higher education to all Americans. A plan like free college would go a long way towards meeting this goal. Goal number 3, economic security. The Green New Deal proposes that we provide all Americans with high-quality and affordable healthcare, housing, food, and access to clean air, clean water, and natural spaces. How we accomplish this will mean introducing many new laws as well as strengthening existing environmental protections. Goal number 4, jobs with livable wages. Because economic uncertainty will intensify more and more as the climate crisis grows, the Green New Deal proposes job guarantees with family-sustaining wages that include medical leaves, paid vacations, and retirement security. Goal number 5, infrastructure. Because extreme weather events will continue to threaten our roads, bridges, and existing infrastructure, the Green New Deal proposes that we invest heavily into these in the most carbon neutral way possible with the best tools technology will allow. Goal number 6, smart energy grids. The Green New Deal proposes upgrading our energy grid to more energy efficient systems, while also helping to make electricity more affordable. Goal number 7, building upgrades. Since Americans spend most of their lives in the workplace, the Green New Deal proposes upgrading our buildings to not only be more energy efficient, but also to create new buildings with high marks in durability, safety, water efficiency, and affordability. Goal number 8, transportation upgrades. The Green New Deal proposes investments in these 3 main areas: zero-emission vehicles, public transportation that is clean, affordable, and accessible, and high-speed rail throughout the country. Goal number 9, clean manufacturing. Because manufacturing industries are some of the worst polluters, the Green New Deal proposes removing pollution and greenhouse gas emissions from manufacturing and related industries as much as it's technologically feasible. Goal number 10, clean agriculture. Since the agricultural sector is a major polluter and source of greenhouse gases, the Green New Deal proposes working with farmers and ranchers to eliminate emissions also as much as it's technologically feasible. It's unlikely that we'll accomplish everything in this proposal, but a consensus of climate scientists agree that the stakes are too high not to try. So what can you do? The UN's 12-year window is obviously a very short amount of time. So a sense of urgency is not only appropriate, it's necessary. Only 100 global companies are responsible for 71% of total carbon emissions. China's coal company alone accounts for 14% of global emissions. It can no longer be acceptable to let these companies poison the ecosystems that we depend on. If we want our grandchildren to survive on Earth, we have a responsibility to act now. Peace.
What I really like about the new Green New Deal, before I open it up, is that it addresses problems that aren't just about climate change. It addresses investing in our infrastructure. It addresses our education problem, in that we need to get more people into the workforce and that are educated to do those jobs. And it also, addresses the bigger issue, which is climate change. Jen, I want to go ahead and start with you to give me your thoughts. You live in Florida, and y'all just had that big giant hurricane. Go ahead and give me your thoughts on the Green New Deal.
It's interesting because I think calling it the Green New Deal, it's almost like it does this sort of disservice by making it sound like it's very niche and it's like some hippy dippy plan or something like that.
Mhm.
It's really a new version of the New Deal is what it is. And it just also happens to be green because it's addressing the climate concerns we have now, but it really is the New Deal. It's everybody gets jobs, everybody gets housing, and those are things that create a functioning society. So the fact that there's people that it's very interconnected, and the fact that this addresses all of those issues together is very important. And I think oftentimes where we fall short is because everything is handled in a vacuum in and of itself, when really it is all interconnected. So I think that by putting it out there like that, it's a smart way to go about it. But I think that when you say it's a Green New Deal, I think that almost it's, I I don't know. It's sort of how I feel about the Green Party too. I feel like it's just too niche. It's bad branding. It's bad branding. But the concept of it is what we need. You know, I mean, to me, it's just common sense. So
Yeah. Josie, did you want to add anything?
No, I mean, I agree. It's a holistic approach to, like you said, a functioning society. And if we're not willing to even take care of the bare minimum, which I see as, you know, the air that we breathe, the water that we drink, then how are we going to even begin to address things like infrastructure and college, right? It has to all happen at once because none of those things can really wait.
Yeah, I agree. Thomas, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think systemic change is needed. It's been stalled for such a long time. We haven't had anything, well, America hasn't particularly had anything since the New Deal that was actually systemically life changing
Mhm.
for a lot of people in this country. But you know, like around the world, like my home country, for example, rich conservatives know that climate change is a serious issue, and it's why even with a conservative party in the UK, they're also trying to do green initiatives. The only difference is that they're putting the burden of the problem on the consumer rather than the corporations that are you know majority responsible for the crisis that we're in.
Yeah, you bring a really good point because a lot of people, will just say, well, don't use paper and plastic bags. Let's solve it with a plastic tax, or let's solve it um with the consumer's responsibility, which is not true. The only reason why we have a hyper consumption is because of the billionaires, is because of the CEOs, is because of the corporations. They are responsible. 1 billion, if you just take 1 billion off this planet, it lowers like dramatically. You know, it just it oh my gosh. It's so we have a plan to solve it, and they just don't want to do it. But yeah, Jen, I want to turn it back to you. If you want
I just think it's interesting when we talk about the intersectionality that all those things have to happen at the same time. There's another thing that all of those problems have in common. They're all caused from the same thing, which is corporate takeover of our infrastructure and of our government. They are all indicative of that we do not have a functioning republic, and that we have a small cabal of people that work for the few, the elite and the oligarchs. And so all of those issues are because of that. We don't have a single problem that we're talking about that isn't the result of corporate greed.
Yeah.
And so when you look at it that way, it's like until you deal with that, all of these issues are going to keep being a problem. And that's the common denominator. And if we get people to unite on that, it's amazing. You would be amazed when you just start talking to people about how about we just get the filth out of there? How about we just get, that you don't have to agree on everything, but that is the holdup on all of those things. That's the entire holdup with everything in this country.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And now that we've talked about the problem, which is corporations, let's talk about the myths of what we hear. Like, oh gosh, if you turn on Fox News and they're talking about the Green New Deal, I remember one of the things they said is, oh, you're not allowed to have hamburgers, or you're not allowed to fly a plane anymore. Oh my gosh. I just like, first of all, this is not even legislation. It's 14 pages. It's 14 pages. It's a resolution. And well, for one thing, the fact that we can't even agree to a resolution is just very telling right there. But Thomas, what are your thoughts on when people try to bring in those like false narratives like, oh, you won't be able to have a hamburger because it does talk about, greener practices when it comes to, with our food. But yeah.
Oh, I mean, we're already seeing it with full disclosure, I am vegan, so
Uh-huh.
but I'm not against the idea of people, like we all need food to survive. So,
Mhm.
but it's already happening. Like America has, particularly the meat industry. I think only like 3 companies control the whole entire sector. Like, and we saw that during the pandemic
Yeah.
when
It's
Tyson
4.
Foods.
It's 4. It's the big
Oh, it's
4.
4. There you
The
go.
big
There you
4.
go.
Yeah, just saying.
Mm.
So
Wait,
so
Jen,
already.
oh wait, Thomas, before, do you
Let's
know
go.
what they are, like by name?
Well, no, not off the top of my head, but we recently did a show where we interviewed a friend of mine who owns like the largest grass-fed cattle, whatever, and sells to people. And he came on, he just wrote a book, and it's all about how the beef industry works, and how when we say big agri, what we really mean is big beef. It's the big 4, and that most of the companies that claim to be these small little branches actually aren't, and they're just like the rules
Wow.
of how our beef is processed and packaged is, I don't eat meat. So this is, not because it's just because of this,
Wow.
actually. So it's
Uh-huh.
bad. And we're never informed, and it's absolutely disgusting. And so anybody who hears this and you're interested, his name is Scott Lively, and we just recently interviewed him on his book. It's called, oh God, what's the name of the book? Oh, it'll come to me as soon as we get over it, but
It's
but
okay.
it's all about the beef industry. And yeah, it's really scary.
Wow. Okay, Thomas, go ahead. Sorry about that. I just wanted to get
No,
that.
no. I was going to say we're already in a situation where people are being priced out of food, because we're in a situation where 4 corporations own the entire market of a particular product. And so, people are saying, they're going to ban you from eating a hamburger. Well, people are being priced out of that particular food item in general. I know so many people that, not out of choice, but they've just had to go down a flexitarian diet because it's all they can afford now. And
Yeah.
look, I'm on the problem we have is we saw this during the pandemic with Tyson Foods when Trump was president. He forced the plants to stay open because they suddenly realized that if Tyson Foods wasn't able to produce food, the entire meat market would collapse during COVID. So they forced people into these plants, knowingly killed people that worked in these plants, because we're in a systemic problem where only a handful of people run the entire supply chain of food, essentially.
Yeah.
So we're already there. I mean, look, I hear it all the time with Fox with saying, this is a socialist wish list. This is this is a dark forces at play that will bring in like a communist revolution. And I'm just like, this isn't even, it's not even close. This is just the Green New Deal is trying to save capitalism. That's what the Green New Deal is.
Yeah. Now before we go into our other part of the conversation, which is about the climate crisis by itself, Josie, do you want to add anything?
I am a very liberal human being, and I eat a lot of steak, but I will survive without my weekly steak, And I mean, I'm in no way vegan, and I am all for controlling these companies that at the end of the day are making competition impossible. I mean, these conservatives are all about the free market, but we have examples of Latin American countries where we don't have large meat corporations because, it's just not possible. People raise their own cattle, or, I mean, we have a quinceañera, we slaughter a pig, and that's it. You call it a day.
Yeah.
Yeah. But these companies make it impossible. They buy out ranches, and they need to be stopped, and they need to be controlled. And
Yeah.
if that sounds socialist to you, well, sorry.
All right.
You bring up a good point. I was just going to say, landowners, in terms of a class of people, are one of the biggest roadblocks to something like this happening, something like the Green New Deal happening. Particularly because, like, for example, we talk about a switch to renewable energy, right? What does that look like, right? We put solar panels in everyone's houses, right? Do you really think Edison who's California's electric company, right, would allow millions of people in California to basically just have renewable energy without paying for anything. Like they're
No.
not gonna they're not gonna do that. They're not gonna lobby that to happen. They're still gonna make it so that you have to pay, even though you've got solar panels on top of your house. So the systemic problem we have, like, it's there. It's already there. Until you address that, we can have the Green New Deal tomorrow, but until you address the underlying issue of people having vested interests in this progress not happening.
Yeah. Oh. Well, let's go ahead and move on to our the other part of the conversation, which is the climate crisis. The ocean, the marine life is so important to the planet. Like, people don't realize that the algae in our ocean is responsible for like 80% of our oxygen. And if that goes, then the whole food chain goes to shit. Jen, I want to go ahead and have you open with your thoughts.
Yeah, I mean, we've been seeing this for a long, I mean, it's here now. Like, we see this now. And in fact, I was looking at the other video you had sent me where it was basically went through every month since they made that prediction, the 12-year plan. And since then, and it's been one thing after another because it's happening. Like, this is happening now. And I actually don't think there's anything we can do to completely stop it, but we need to do whatever we can to just make life as pleasant as we can for as long as we're here. Like, that's my thought. Like, I think the planet will be fine. It'll shake us off like a bad flu, maybe freeze over, maybe who knows what'll happen. But like, we just need to take care of it for while we're here, and just try to save as many critters as we can. But I think we've done a lot of damage that now there's no undoing.
Yeah, like the Green New Deal is a Band-Aid.
Exactly.
Like, if you want to talk about extreme conservatives, that's a Band-Aid. Thomas, so okay, so Jen, you live in Florida, which experiences a lot of hurricanes and stuff. And then Thomas, the UK is on an island. And even, some coastal areas of the UK island is having some issues with climate change. Give me your thoughts.
You want to go first, Jen, or do you want me to? I can go.
Well, I'm curious. I'm curious what it's like in the UK. I mean, like for here in Florida, and specifically in South Florida, when it rains, and it doesn't have to be a hurricane by any means. It could just be it rains. There's a lot of areas that are completely flooded. And the infrastructure has not been upgraded in like 60 years in parts of Fort Lauderdale. So you literally have sewage in the streets.
That is so gross.
Oh, it's so gross. And so I'm curious, like in the UK, where you have different systems, like how your infrastructure has been accommodating basic. And again, I'm not even talking super storms. I'm talking just rain.
Wow. Yeah, Thomas, go ahead.
Yeah. I mean, we've had for a long time, there's normally annual flooding. Particularly where I grew up in the northwest of England, and a lot of that area, because of how particularly wet the climate is, there tends to be a lot of flooding, and it's just progressively got worse year on year on year. The other issue that we have is, because of the system that we're in, and because people are so greedy, they've been building new builds on floodplains, knowingly building buildings on floodplains because it's cheap. Because it's cheap, and obviously it's created absolute disasters. We've had areas of the UK where you might have seen it in the news, like Carlisle, the whole city is just completely submerged and flooded,
So I'm
completely
pretty
flooded
sure they
out.
forgot what happened in Aberfan already.
Wait, that was the mudslide. That was the dirt, right? The what?
Yeah,
that
the
was
coal.
Like the coal. It was the coal, right?
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
And like that's the thing, the climate, like you said, Jen, the planet's just gonna, cough us right off,
Yeah.
and of course you're gonna need to update your infrastructure more if
Right, and
there's constant climate events happening.
yeah, and every year we go through the same news cycle of they build flood defenses, and the government is doing this and this, and it maybe lasts about a day and the whole thing breaks, and it's just this constant every year, this constant cycle of well, we're in a flood season again, and they keep calling it a natural disaster, but it just keeps getting worse year on year on year. Actually, the one thing that stood out this year, particularly in the summer, was the heat wave was so intense that the problem with the UK in general is that there's no infrastructure for heat, like at all. Like nobody owns air conditioning at all because it's never been needed ever. It's never got hot enough where people need to cool down that significantly for that long period of time. And it ended up killing people. It ended up killing a lot of people because of the heat wave, particularly elderly people.
Josie, I'm so sorry. There was an audio.
No.
Josie, would you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think that Mexico City is a great metaphor for the climate crisis. Mexico City was built thousands of years ago by indigenous Aztecs. It was built in conjunction with nature. It was built specifically to be able to withstand any type of natural disaster, rain, flooding. But then we get colonization, and then we get Mexico City being built in an industrial scale, and the whole city is sinking into the ground. When you go visit, you can see the buildings. They're just kind of getting crooked in different areas. And I think that's a great metaphor for what we're experiencing all over industrialized nations. We have decided that we don't want to live in conjunction with nature. We want to fight against it. And we're facing the consequences. And it's not too late to go back. I mean, there's definitely the consequences that we'll have to face, but we can follow the practices of people that lived on this land thousands upon thousands upon thousands of years before us without these types of issues, and we don't have to give up our modern amenities to do so. We can just simply adjust to clean energy. We can adjust our diets to fit, methane levels. It's not a complicated issue. It's simply, a choice of whether or not we want humanity to survive or if we want to be wiped off the face of the earth, because I'm pretty sure Mother Nature is going to just decide that one day.
She's gonna be like, I'm so done with you bitches. Like, get off me right now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so folks, that concludes our discussion on the Green New Deal and climate. Jen, thank you so much for this conversation. So now on to our fun topic.
So as an ex-religious person, I am always fascinated in the intersection of culture and religion. So this week, we're going to talk a little bit about and discuss, based on the release of Jerry Falwell Jr.'s new documentary, president of Liberty University, for those of you who don't know, which is a very conservative Christian university. He's corrupt on multiple levels, but a huge part of the problem that people in the Christian community have with him right now is that he is what is colloquially called as a cuck, excuse my French, which means that he enjoys watching his wife have sex with other people. as progressive people, we may have a problem with that, we may not, but the discussion is going to be whether that should play into his fall from grace.
Ooh, well, I
Who
mean,
wants to go first?
I gotta go first on this one. To each their own. No judgment on that. If that gets you off, I mean, go ahead. I could never do it. I'm a jealous bitch. But yeah, that's all I could say. I mean, I'd probably judge you more on your corruption, if anything. Yeah.
I will say on my end, as somebody who attended a Christian university, for better or for worse,
APU.
yup, I would take that into account only because he's telling all these young adults not to have sex in any way outside of marriage, and preaching this nice little puritanical view on people's sex lives, and behind closed doors you're having freaky deaky. I don't think so. I'm gonna judge you a little bit, even when I do believe that anybody can do whatever they want, but just maybe not the president of a judgmental Christian university.
Thomas, Jen, do you want to jump in?
This to me is just expected hypocrisy from most of the preachy people. I'm very secular. I'm an atheist. Like, so to me, a lot of it is like, I affiliate religious people with hypocrisy generally, like extreme. Because to me, it's like they're all cafeteria people. Like, you pick and choose which parts of your religion serve you in the moment.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I've always been secular, so it's not my thing.
Yeah, Thomas.
It's like, what is it? What did you say? People live in glass houses. I don't know. It's yeah. I think the like do what you want. Like, as far as I'm concerned, like, like that. If you're into that, that's great. But I think the problem comes is people who align in that particularly in that way of thinking, in like, when it comes to faith and religion, they tend to eat each other, and I think it's just a comeuppance of like being in that sort of, they're gonna eat him. They're gonna eat each other. It kind of reminds me of what's happening right now with Elon Musk and Twitter, like the rights just sort of back and forth, whether they're with him or not.
Well, yeah, and it's a classic case of religious hypocrisy, like you said, Jen. It's always going to happen. You have that Herschel Walker guy with all his many abortions.
He is so not bright.
He's so fucking stupid.
I'm trying to be, somewhat not, but he is just like, the thought that it could be Herschel Walker and Dr. Oz in our like is absurd.
Oh yeah.
It's absurd. Like, I'm living in the bizarro universe. It's the Biff Tannen Back to the Future, segment where it's really skewed.
And it's just this theme, right, of like all these men that are clearly unqualified to lead these groups that they're trying to lead.
And people keep voting for them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's amazing what confidence and ego can get you.
And money.
And money and TV
and money
and exposure and celebrityism.
I would argue it's only ego, and it is. I argue that ego is a poor substitution for confidence, and that people who are really confident don't need to overcompensate with their huge egos. Right. And it's very interesting. And like, for me, like, confidence is very attractive. Cocky is unattractive. So like, confident is, there's something very attractive about confident, but it's about using that to contribute and not thinking it's about you. See, ego is thinking it's about you. Confidence is knowing the gifts you bring to the table and that they're part of a bigger mission. That's, it's just different.
Oh, we needed that wisdom. Thank you, Jen.
Well, it's part of like this book I'm writing on like what we need in public service and politics, and like the kind of leaders that we need. And you need to distinguish clearly between confidence and ego. And you need to be confident to be in politics. There's no doubt about it. It's a political blood sport. And you have to be confident to be in it, but it's not about you. And that's the element that they miss. And that's the ego. So like, to me, I'd say like, because confidence is a good thing.
I agree. Josie, thank you for that fun stuff. And as always, thank you again for watching another episode of Let's Talk Weekly. Jen, thank you so much. Follow and watch Jen on Generational Change. Like I said, all that info is in the description. And we will see you next week. Ta-ta, y'all.
Bye.